disturbing news about Pixar and Disney? I need everybody to share this immediately because what I'm about to tell you and show you is extremely disturbing. Boheme Buchiba, a key veteran of Disney and Pixar animation studios, is currently awaiting trial in Paris. He is accused of having ordered the rape of hundreds of young girls in the Philippines through live streaming. Prior to his arrest, Buchiba, 59, had been a key animator at Disney and Pixar for decades. He was an animator on Esmeralda and Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hades and Hercules, and the title character of Tarzan, as well as supervising animator of Jumba and Lilo and Stitch. But at Pixar, Buchiba animated on The Incredibles, Ratatouille, and even Up. And he even worked in the story and development on Soul, Incredibles 2, Luca, and even Elemental. But this is when it gets really disturbing. As you can see, the investigation revealed that he had been paying for remote sexual abuse of minors aged 3 to 15 years old. And the number of live streams that he conducted number in the hundreds and could reach as many as 1,000 children according to investigators. But this gets even worse. I mean, this is really f***ed up. As you can see, Buchiba, who referred to children as pigs, admitted during his interrogations that the children whose abuse he ordered were scared and often crying, saying it's horrible what's happening to them, and I think they express it to the adult, and the adult most of the time doesn't stop. What the f***? But Buchiba had previously been arrested and convicted in 2014 for assaulting the 8-year-old daughter of his partner at the time, and he received a 2-year suspended sentence at the time. It was discovered during the first criminal case that he had viewed child what? Apparently, the assault conviction did not affect his animation prospects, and afterwards he continued to work on Pixar animated features. That is actually insane, but then again, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure people know about Disney by now, and if you don't, you really need to get in touch with reality. But this is so up, man. And I don't see how Pixar or Disney could even allow this man to continue working.
Turns out that the human DNA follows Moore's law, and this means that every 600 million years, it will double in complexity. You go back from today, 2024, 600 million years, it would be half the complexity. Go back 600 million years, half the complexity.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if you did that, you get to the original point where it doesn't, you can't go back anymore. And that original point, meaning, is when the first human DNA was born, let's say, and that turns out to be 9 billion years ago. So if the human DNA is 9 billion years old, but planet Earth is how old? 5 billion years? This means that the human DNA is older than the planet.
Wow.
So where was it? That's proof that the human DNA existed somewhere else.
Interesting.
And was implanted on planet Earth.
1960, a mother woke up at midnight to her phone ringing. She hesitantly walked down the stairs and answered it, but there was only silence on the other end. And then after a few seconds, she heard a click in the dial tone. She was creeped out, but figured it was probably nothing and decided to go back to bed. But just an hour later, she awoke once again to the sound of someone in her house. The only phone in the house was downstairs, but unfortunately that seemed to be where the noises were coming from. Figuring that she had no other options, she turned the lights on and started to creep down the stairs, hoping to get to the phone and call the police. But before she could make it to the first floor, the light suddenly went out and the noise seemed to stop. She bolted straight to the phone and picked up the receiver, just to realize that the phone line had been cut. And then a couple of seconds later, she noticed a silhouette of a short man standing in her living room. Before she could react, he ran at her, immediately threatening her and demanding money. He appeared to be wearing a leathery mask, an old musty overcoat, and nail-studded bracelets, which made the woman believe that his intentions were much worse than a simple robbery. She tried her absolute best to push and shove him away, but this only made the intruder fight back harder. But in the midst of the struggle, they heard another set of footsteps coming down the stairs and briefly paused. Once the intruder realized it was the mother's 14-year-old daughter, he threw the mother to the side and chased the daughter back up the stairs. The mother, realizing that now was her only chance to escape, sprinted out the front door into her neighbor's house for help. When they returned, they found the daughter had been assaulted but was fortunately still alive. However, the intruder appeared to be long gone. Once the police arrived, they told the mother that she had been attacked by what the locals called the Beast of Jersey. He continued his attacks all the way up until 1970 when 2 patrolling officers caught a man running a red light. After a brief car chase, the officers found his full mask and costume and became highly suspicious. They searched his house and found plans for future victims, a shrine dedicated to the devil, and a small library based on dark magic. Edward Paynell was ultimately sentenced to 30 years but got out after 20 for good behavior.
What's around it, what will happen next, and what it should do.
you are, and we developed a comfort mode, adjusting the pedals to a perfect resting position.
It's amazing.
What were they after?
Well, first of all, he told me over and over and over. When he first told me, LaToya, they're going to kill me. I said, who, Michael? First, I thought you're Michael Jackson. Nobody in their right mind would ever think of doing anything like this to you. That's what you think. He says, no, but you don't understand. And then I saw how serious he was. He said, it's bigger than what you think. I said, well, Michael, what is it? He said, it's my publishing. They're after my publishing. They want to take it. As you guys know, my brother had one of the largest catalogs in the world, meaning music-wise.
The Beatles collection was one of them.
He owned the Beatles, yes. Yeah. There's an elevator music that you hear, just everything, basically. A piece.
And you know who it was. Can you say who it was?
No, I cannot say, because there are other people in the house as well. Because I prefer not to at the moment, but I will say this. I would love to have a one-on-one with several people. One person I would love to have. Safe? I would love to have a one-on-one with probably. I mean,
I don't know if you say that because you think that you could.
86, Rene Pioche conducted a most astonishing experiment to show telekinesis, influencing objects at a distance by the power of the mind. He used newly hatched chicks and a specially made robot. So chickens and birds believe the first animate creature or thing that they see after hatching is their parent, and they become closely bonded. This is called imprinting. And Pioche introduced the newly hatched chicks to this special robot. They loved it and yearned to be close to it. The robot could drive itself around on wheels and had a pen underneath it to trace its path on the paper as it moved. It had a random number generator on the steering, and every few seconds it changed directions. A large table with a low sidewall to prevent the robot from falling off was covered by a sheet of white paper. The robot was placed in the center of the table and set moving. It traced a random pattern across the table. He then put 15 chickens, which were bonded to the robot, in a small cage at one end of the table, put the robot in the center of the table, and switched it on. The chicks felt anxiety when it moved away from them, yearning for it to be close. These chicks had a profound effect on the robot's movement. It moved towards the chickens and stayed at the end of the table closest to them. He put a non-bonded chicken into the cage, and the robot traced a random pattern again. Pioche made the room dark and then put a small candle on the robot. Even the non-attached chickens could bring it closer for the comfort of the light. However, when Pioche put rabbits in the cage, they were scared of the device and made it stay at the far end of the table. But when they got used to it,
Wow.
What is that?
The aluminum?
Yeah. Because this is nuts. Like, when you see this, you're just going to be like breaking, it's going to break science. If you're a scientist and you understand anything about temperatures and melting points, what we're about to show you is going to change, in my opinion, the whole direction of this entire investigation from what I'm being led to believe, and it just makes logical sense, right?
Yeah, it's almost like there's an incinerator nearby and they just dropped the car off.
Right, so I'm going to turn the camera on what we're walking up on right now. I want you to notice there's a vehicle that's been here since the beginning. It wasn't dropped off here, obviously.
Look at the chair's not melted.
You can see here there's
this sitting in the middle.
This is the highest the burn got. Right here, it did not cross the highway. If you look over here, this is the bypass. You can see none of that grass is burned over there, so start to draw some logical conclusions. Because if you look at this vehicle, and I want you to notice the burn, the amount of grass, as you can see, that burned and the char marks. This car is basically completely surrounded by gravel, and you can see a small little flames right here when this grass burned. Yet, when you turn and look right in this direction, besides seeing Dylan, my technical cameraman, you can see this car. This is a tire that is gone. These are the braids of steel inside the tire. Look at this particular rim. Is it safe to say these are aluminum?
Look at the windshield. What's that?
Are these aluminum?
Yeah, that's cast aluminum wheels.
Cast aluminum wheel, you can see it melted.
And the windshield on the inside?
Look at the windshield. That is a windshield right there that is completely melted. We have some jumper cables in the back of the vehicle. We have some cast aluminum here that's pulverized.
Just dust.
How is that possible for a grass fire that did not come from this direction? Because you can see there's nothing that's been burned over here. What could cause that type of destruction when you have a grass fire on this side that obviously didn't connect? But even if it was a grass fire,
and it's still only half burned. I mean,
yeah, you can see there's even some grass over here that's still standing. It's not even been burned. So even down below, directly below this, you can see some wood fence posts that were burned, but you can see all that grass is still good. So how do you get this car this hot? In the comments section, I need to hear from you guys. Honestly, I need you here in the comments section. There's some smart people, and I'm not talking about, you know, I'm talking about some intelligent people out there that understand physics, science, melting points, not the nonsense people. We need to just silence the nonsense for a moment. We need some real...
And dragons. And fallen angels. Pretty sure that's from the eclipse. This one's weird though. Isn't that weird? It's like the spirit of venom. Those are so weird. Earth got a ringworm.
A pig's brain was just brought back to life an hour after it died, and here's why this could change everything. So here's the story. Normally in humans, the brain has just 4 to 6 minutes after cardiac arrest before cells start dying fast. But in this experiment, scientists in China revived parts of a pig's brain 50 minutes after death. They hooked up an undamaged liver to the brain support system, and these brain cells were like, oh my God, I'm alive. Thank you so much, liver. The pig's brain not only restarted activity, but it stayed active for more than 6 hours. UAV was back online. This could completely change the way we bring back people after the heart stops. Think about how much more time doctors would have to save lives. What do you think about this? Do you think that this will ever work on humans? I mean, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with...
What? When you wonder where your luggage goes, that's where it goes. It's like they left a piece or a part off.
I'd like to introduce you to the idea of water as an intelligent designer. Here I exposed water to my friend's photo, removed and froze using a special method, and it designed her face. I showed the ice result to the water, and it designed a negative of her face. I briefly placed my thumb in the water and then froze it, and water designed a thumb with a chip in the nail. I chipped my nail in exactly the same place 3 hours later. Here I used a conceptual word of ego. It's a word I have no visual for, which removes any mental projection, and water designed a person with big shoulders, a small face, and a giant balloon head. I used the word milk as an influence, and water designed a breast. I wasn't thinking of human milk, so this was a surprise. You notice that the ice designs are not photocopies of the influence, but more of an interpretation, and to me, this is clear display of some kind of awareness. I honestly don't think we know what water really is yet.
I mean, technically I have to bet, it's just not purity.
Hey, bro. Where is that? Where is that? The bell is really lifting, y'all. I'm telling you, everything isn't what it seems. Everything isn't what it seems.
Evidence of negative time has been discovered in a quantum physics experiment in Toronto. And I swear to you, I read this whole article. I'm pretty sure they're not making this up. I'm pretty sure this is another quantum oddity, like when quarks go backwards in time. But physicists have showed that photons can seem to exit a material before entering it, revealing an observational evidence, at least, of negative time, which is something that in physics we almost never deal with because everything we know about the observational universe is that time moves forward. But photons and other quantum particles don't seem to obey those rules. So,
Jack, who were you touching earlier? What was her name? Your mom?
Imagine renting an Airbnb home and finding yourself in the creepiest of situations ever. From haunted places to secret dungeons and invasive homeowners, there are loads of videos of people who come face to face with the most bizarre situations ever.
Okay, we have a...
Such as Lauren Gray, a famous TikToker who rented an Airbnb, and this happened.
We're staying in an Airbnb, and just a normal mirror. This is the bathroom. This is the main bathroom.
While staying at an Airbnb, Lauren realizes that the mirror in her bathroom isn't just a mirror.
Come in. Bruh, this is first of all, look at this. Towel on the floor. For what?
It's actually a secret entrance to a hidden room, and this is what she finds inside.
Come in. Come in. What is this? What is that? What is this?
Inside the room she finds a towel, underwear, a pair of gloves, and a chain, as if this is some sort of torture room. And the creepiest thing about this is the fact that the only entrance to this hidden room is through the bathroom mirror. So what's going on here? But there's more. In a video recently posted by Louisa and her family, they traveled to Pigeon Forge, a place in the Appalachian Mountains. Now in this particular case, the house was beautiful and all that, but when they went to sleep at about 3 a.m. in the morning, her brother was woken up by what he believes to be a huge hand pressing against his chest.
Yo siento una presión en mi pecho, una mano grande, más o menos de aquí hasta acá, que me abrazó. Yo pensé que era mi cuñado o las niñas despertándome, algo había pasado. Cuando me di cuenta que no había nadie conmigo, me entró un escalofrío por todo el cuerpo y yo empecé a gritar auxilio, auxilio, auxilio.
He wakes up to some sort of demonic entity pressing against his chest, so when he gets up, this thing picks him up and throws him down the stairs. This is when his sister wakes up and thinking it's a burglar or an animal, she calls 911, and this is what happens.
Papi, mire a ver si de pronto fue un animal.
So is you hurt his neck, back?
At this point, the cops arrive and check the entire house. There's no one there. Then this is when her brother explains that it was possibly a demon or something like that. And to their surprise, they actually take him seriously. In the end, he's taken to the hospital for some stitches, but everything was fine after that except for the fact that they never went to that house again. But when it comes to creepy Airbnbs, it doesn't stop there.
Yeah?
The family had been renting an Airbnb for quite a while now, when all of a sudden a hidden door opens and this happens.
You're the people that I let the house to, right?
Yeah.
Are you on holiday?
Yeah, who are you?
I own the house. I'm Richard.
What are you doing? What a minute, yeah? Is that a... Where's your trousers? Where's your trousers?
If it's not inconvenient right now, I'd like to use the bathroom.
Excuse me, we've rented this house from you.
Yeah, well, any problems?
It seems the owner of the Airbnb had been using the house in a secret dungeon of his for all this time without them knowing.
You might have noticed, actually, that because I bring all my plates out after dark, use the kitchen. But,
so hold a minute, yeah. Whilst we're sleeping, yeah, you're going out in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, I've got to put my dirty plates out there, and you might have noticed after midnight. There might be a bit of creaking on the stairs because it's me using the toilet. This is my little dungeon. I call it my dungeon.
How creepy is this? Don't forget to watch the rest of the video on my YouTube channel. And have you ever gone through such...
In 1973, FedEx was down to their last $5,000.
So the founder flew to Vegas and gambled the company on a game of blackjack. This is Frederick Smith, the founder of FedEx. He went to Yale, and while he was there, he wrote a paper outlining an idea for an overnight delivery service. And his business professor was not impressed. He actually told him that he needs to change his idea to something feasible if he wanted to get a good grade. But like all great entrepreneurs, Frederick was determined to prove him wrong. By 1971, he had launched FedEx, putting $4 million of his own money along with $80 million in loans. For context, that would be roughly $690 million today. FedEx had 14 Dassault Falcon 20 planes and was offered in 30 cities. But Frederick ran into some major problems. Fuel was rising, debt was mounting, and they were about to go bankrupt. Smith turned to investors, but they didn't want to bail out a company that was bleeding cash. With only $5,000 left in his bank account and a fuel bill of $24,000 due, Frederick just decided to go to Vegas and risk it all. Now, he wasn't just a degenerate gambler. He actually knew how to count cards. See, Frederick is a war hero that did 2 tours in Vietnam and has pretty much every war medal you can imagine. While deployed, him and the other officers would play a ton of blackjack. And that's where he learned to count cards. So when he got to Vegas, he was only there for a couple hours before winning $27,000. That money gave him enough breathing room to secure another round of funding. Just 3 years later, the company generated $3.6 million in revenue. And now in 2024, the company is worth more than $65 billion.